So, hi everyone. Today we are with Vedant. So, he has been an amazing student and one of the most smartest kid. He knows how to work. He very well knows that, but he was never very confident. But we were always sure that he has the potential and definitely scored top 50 rank. His rank is All India rank 48. So, and he will be joining Fashion Communication Lib Delhi, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So congratulations, first of all, for getting Lib Delhi Fashion Communication. Now, definitely you will start living your dream. And Vedant, what was your subjects in school?
I had science. I had PCM and psychology.
PCM and psychology. So you like psychology more or science more?
I thought I liked science more until I did, but I don't like it now. Not my cup of tea at all.
Yeah. Yes, but of course. So what do you think? Your plus point in examination was your science, I mean your creative section or the GAT section?
I think my creative section was stronger than my GT section. I wouldn't say my GT section was bad, but I think it was pretty average compared to what I thought I'd get. But I think the science portion that I learned in school very much helped it because it helps you get into a flow, the rigor that it requires to train for an entrance examination. So science stream has that. So it helped me a lot in that aspect.
Right. So your score was almost highest in design section in the GAT section also. So you were pretty much like 65 on 100 in the GAT section, and your CAT section was almost 82 marks out of 100. So CAT section was also a big plus point for you. You had scored around, I think, 37.5 in the CAT section, which is equivalent to around 80 82 marks. Not 80 82 marks actually. 40 marks hota to 80 hota to, but around 78 marks you have scored in your CAT section, and your situation test also is you did quite well. So overall, your all the papers was above average, and your GAT section was much beyond. Like it was really good. So in the GAT section, you did well in your maths part, your English part, or GK part, or all of them equally good.
I think I did much better in my English, GK and LR. I think my maths was a little below, well, not below average, but average. It was not as much as I thought I could be able to do. But I wouldn't say it was bad, but was not as I expected. So it was a little tricky maths this time, I
Mm,
would say.
Maths was little tricky. All right, Vedant. So I think that without wasting much time, students will love to see what you have done, your strategies, what you have followed. So you can share your screen and take it further. And if you can be little louder, because I think your voice is little.
All right, sir. 1 second. Is my screen visible?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
So hi everyone. I am Vedant. I'm from Delhi and I had science in my school, and I was preparing for design from design circle, obviously, as you guys know, and this is my journey throughout during design circle and the strategies I used to help me crack the exam. So without further ado, I would like to begin. First is the overview, what we'll be covering throughout the meeting or the presentation. Firstly, I'll discuss the CAT and GAT sections and what strategies I used and what tips I would like to provide. And then I would look at my sketches and the things that I missed out in my CAT section. I will go through that and I'll show you my journey through my sketches and how I improved and how I could have improved if I would have taken some other things into consideration as well. So yeah, and so this is the GAT section first. Firstly, we have GK. These are my tips for GK, which is I think is the top 5 things you need to do, and I don't think you need to do beyond that for GK. People, I think, are very scared of GK as a subject because they think it's very vast, and it is. It is very vast, and it is very time consuming. But I think if you take it up as something interesting or a develop interest in it, I think it could go way farther than you would expect it to, and you could do much, much better if only you put a little bit of interest in it. So firstly, very important, everyone says it, and it is very useful as well. For current affairs, read your newspapers. Newspaper reading is very important. And if you're like me and can't read newspapers, can't sit through boring things, nowadays we have highlights that come on our phone. You can get an app to get newspaper highlights and clippings, the most important things for that. Or you could use India Pix or Jagran Josh, which have daily highlights of what important things happen today, and you could just skim through them and write them and note them down and make a file for them and just refer back to them again and again. What I like to do is that just before going to bed, I would go through the highlights of the day and just go through them once and try to memorize them, go get them into my head. Just, throw important things that you think would stick out or would be important later, or you think that would come in the exam. Just write them down and note them down and just keep revising them. And the tip that I would give to everyone, which is I thought was very useful for me. I don't know about others, that quizzes is the most important way of learning GK or to memorize anything for in that matter, I think. Because majority of the time I did GK, I only did quizzes. Even if you don't know anything about the topic, just do a quiz on it and do it again and again and again and again until the point that you know that Asha, now you know everything and now you can take the quiz as if you know the topic. So for example, I didn't know anything about awards or famous personalities or Indian personalities. I had no idea. But when Gaurav sir used to send those quizzes, I used to do them and then do them again because I don't know anything. I do them again and again until I got the concept. And that I think is a much more faster and effective way to learn GK instead of going through your notes and again and usko bari bari padna, and it becomes very tedious at a point. So it's very easy to do quizzes. And if you think you're getting less quizzes or you think you need to do more, it's very easy. You just take your notes. Gaurav says to 10 very detailed notes for GK, ancient history, medieval history. Just copy them down and put them into ChatGPT and ask them to make a quiz for you. Usko quizzes mein dalo and you're goal and you're sorted. You have quizzes for the entire thing for the entire topic, and you can do them again and again as much as you want, as much as you wish. I used to do them a lot when I was traveling because from my home to DC, it would take 1.5 hours of traveling. So throughout the entire duration, I used to do just quizzes or look at inspiration for works and stuff. So use your travel time. It's not like you have to take out time. जब time मिले जब खाली बैठे हो बैठ के करते रहो. It's very easy, it's very effective, and it's very effective, honestly, very effective. And next, from quizzes only deriving from that is that you should focus more on getting the right answers faster than getting all of them right. Because at the end of the day, आप सब कुछ नहीं जान पाओगे. You're not going to know everything that comes in your paper. I'm not going to know every answer. So it's much more important that you get through the paper faster rather than taking a lot more time to figure out the right answer. And it's not really to get about the right answer because at the end of the day, it's a competitive examination. We don't have to get full marks. You just have to do better than everyone else. So your main objective should be to get more right answers in shorter durations of time instead of getting all of the right answers. What I used to do is I used to focus a lot on to get it right, to get the right answer, or this stroke is not perfect. So I used to focus a lot on perfection. And I think that is what really pulled me down in my NID because my NID, I just got left out from a little from like 5-6 marks, and I really put it hard on myself because sometimes when you don't have to strive for perfection all the time. I used to strive for a lot of perfection, and that didn't get me anywhere. So do things faster instead of getting all of them right. That is very important. And the last is that the more you make associations across topics to keep ancient history से या medieval history के through connections बनाओ, mnemonics बनाओ, draw connections कि इस बंदे ने ये किया था, and then same person is doing anything again, and it's all happening within the same time frame. We often used to think of people like in at least history में तो as very one-dimensional figures. But if you make them more realistic, you make them more holistic, I think it sticks better in your head because always, always, and always a story sticks in your head much faster and much better than like a factual description or a factual description or a a very logical thing. So make connections, make stories up, and use that to get better at your get better to revise better as you go. Then is English. I didn't do a lot for English because I I've been reading all my life, so I didn't really do a lot for it. And I think it's very important to develop a reading habit because that is what helped me a lot in English. I see a lot of kids who are very good at LR or very good at maths, but they are very poor at English. It's because they didn't have develop a reading habit. Yeah, bachpan se didn't read a lot. I didn't focus on it because I thought ki ho jata hai to easy subject hai, which in school it happens. English is a it can be a very scoring subject even if you don't put in a lot of effort. But here, where you get into the really nitty-gritties of English, the syntax, grammar, synonyms, antonyms, word meanings, etc., we have to pay a lot of attention there. So I think develop a reading habit, read a lot more, because that helps you come across words, meanings in a more organic way. Don't have to sit and learn them like you were doing a textbook. So I think reading is very important. Uh, and you can read anything. Honestly, read anything. I think you should read newspapers at this point of time because you can kill two birds with one stone. English भी हो जाएगा, GK भी हो जाएगा, current affairs भी हो जाएगा. But you can honestly read anything as long as it's good books. Don't like get stuck on Pauline Hoover and stuff like that. Just read good books that have good language and that have a good grasp on language and have good substance. Read about history, read about something, read about design only. Read about something that matters to your profession and matters to you what you're aiming for and aligns with your goals. Then is comprehension. I didn't do a lot of comprehension, but I did a lot of I did comprehension from the Aryan book that DC gives you in the starting of the year. And once Gaurav sir made us do old UPSC papers, and because that is the highest level of comprehension that you can get in any competitive examination. So I did a lot of UPSC papers because that really helped me baad mein. Uh, and then synonym, antonym, and word roots के लिए again use quizzes. Very helpful, very useful. It's very easily effective and very time very. It's not a lot of time consuming. And you can download apps for words of the day to know new words, add them to your vocabulary, add them to your lexicon. Do word of the day, do stuff like that. As well, you have a lot of resources at hand if you go and search for them. Honestly, it's not like you have to do everything on your own. Everything up to a lot of the times you can get it on a silver platter if only you have the knowledge or the capacity to go out and search for it. So learn to use your resources very effectively. LR also I was good at. I didn't have to pay a lot of attention, so I don't honestly have a lot of tips apart from doing practice questions and doing random puzzles and riddles also. Do wordles, do connections that you get on the New York Times paper, do mini crosswords, do riddles, paradoxes, जहाँ से भी मिलता है कर लो. I was also studying for UCET, so I had a lot of overlap in that. So doing LR for that also, doing LR for UCET also helped me a lot in NID and NIFT because UCET is a higher level of LR, and so that helped a lot. So I don't really have a lot of tips for it, but do practice questions daily. At least Adha Ghanta sit and do LR and maths because they're very practice heavy subjects. So the more you practice, the more you get better at it. And there's not a lot you can do. Just do practice daily. Then for math again, I didn't pay a lot of attention, but do practice questions daily. Half an hour at least you should sit. In the starting when I joined 11th mid, I didn't sit at all for math. I was like, I know this, I can do this. It's easy enough. It's not very complicated. 6, 7 grade की maths so है, हो जाएगी. But trust me, the more you practice, the faster you can do it. Of course, you know the basic concepts. आप सबको आता है. We've all done it in school. But the more you practice, the faster and efficient you get at solving problems. So that is your goal. That should be to get stuff done as fast as possible. Uh, um, and develop mental math skills. A lot of times I've seen people, they know the concept, they can do it quickly also, but they are stuck in the pencil and paper method a lot. You have to do all your calculations on the paper and they can't do it mentally. And you know it's useful and it's good also, but sometimes it takes out important time that you can utilize otherwise where stuff like you can do if you've left questions, You can focus on that instead of doing it. So mental maths helps you get through the paper faster. So develop mental maths. And Gaurav sir gave uh, design sir from Gaurav sir, they gave out the math booklets. उसके अंदर बहुत सारी tips and tricks है for faster calculation, for doing questions faster. I used to do them and they really help. They really do. So for math, I would recommend that. Now we come to the CAT sections for NID first. NID is all about quick sketches. It's not about how well you do it, how beautiful you do it, but how you keep in mind the proportions and how fast and effective you can communicate your idea that you have. Okay. Always, always, and always work with a timer. Trust me, timer के साथ ही काम किया करो, because without timer you're saying अच्छा I'm taking only 2 minutes extra, I'm only taking 4 minutes extra, but that 2 and 4 minutes really build up after, and you really don't have time at the end of the paper. So always do your work with a timer. I remember when I joined DC in the starting, I only used to leave with 3 or 4 sketches at max. I used to come at 9 and leave at 3:30. And उस पूरे time I had only done 3 to 4 sketches in the starting. So, and that is not the type of level you should be working at. NID is all about quick work, quick pencil work, quick pen work, and how to effectively communicate your ideas. As long as it's looking decent, you have the right proportions, and you are creative in your communication, it's all done. It's not a lot of boxes you have to take. So faster work is very important. Again, in NID, don't focus on perfection. uh, I've learned from my mistakes. Perfection ki piche mat bhago. It's not important how good your drawing looks and how perfect it looks, how good your line stroke is, how good your line quality is important, but it's not that important that you have to focus all your time and energy on it. Focus more on creativity. Observe. I used to use my travel time for observing also. I used to come in the metro, भरी होती है लोगों से, see how people talk, how they work, how they interact with other people and their surroundings. Take pictures and use Pinterest. Use Pinterest and Instagram properly. You scroll through reels, you scroll through posts. But if you see my Instagram or Pinterest, it's just filled with stuff that is important and stuff I think is creative and will help my outlook later. So use those tools properly. That you have those tools, but sometimes you just forget to use them properly and effectively, and they're very powerful if they're done right. So use Instagram, Pinterest, use that for your ideas, and don't be shy in taking ideas. Everybody works on other people's ideas. There is nothing in this world that is absolutely 110% or 100% original. You can take ideas, talk to people, you can see their work, and if you see something that you admire or you think, yes, that's a good quality, you should take it in your drawing as well, because at the end of the day, that is also going to help. Don't live in a bubble. Don't work alone independently. Look at what other people are doing and what they're doing right. Not obviously look at what they're doing, but look at what they're doing right and what is working for them, and try to incorporate that. There's no shame in that. So try to do that as well. Again, NID के लिए, I would say colors are not very important. You can color. It's always good if you color, but I wouldn't say, because it's a shorter paper, you don't have a lot of time. So focus on your ideas, focus on your creativity. Coloring and perfection not that important. अगर थोड़ा बहुत 5-10% रह भी जाता, it's all right. Coloring is not that important. They want to know how you do your perspectives, how you add your elements. Elements are very important in NID. The more elements you add, the more it looks like you understand the world and how it works. कि आपको पता है, you are an aware person, you have a design outlook, कि you know how things work in real life, how they work. यहाँ पे आप दुकान जाते हो, there's a QR code, there's the cashier, वो क्या करता है, कैसे बैठता है, कैसे नहीं बैठता, वहाँ पे उनके पास फोन होता है नहीं होता, फोन के पीछे क्या लगा होता है, the pictures that they're watching, what they're doing when the time is passing, what they're watching on their phone. So look at the world, observe the world, and use that to add elements to your drawing. Then for NIFT is all about how beautiful your drawing is. They do ask for creativity, but I would say 70% is how beautiful and how perfect and how aesthetic your sketches look. So take your time. NIFT has a lot of time. You get 3 hours, which is plenty of time, I would say. So take your time, आराम से सोचो, plan करो, and then do your work. Always do planning with NIFT, because they'll focus a lot of attention if your stuff is aligned properly or not. If your lettering looks standardized, कि एक letter ऐसा है जिस letter को थोड़ा अलग लग रहा है, doesn't look like the same font. So they do focus a lot on that. So uh, try to do methodically, work properly, and aram se kaam karo. There's no rush in life. Unlike an NID, which you have to do fast. Focus on perfection, work slowly, and plan your work, वगैरह, everything. Colors are very important in NIFT because the more vibrant your drawing is, the more colorful it is, the more they like it. They like colors in NIFT, and so coloring is very important. At least try to do 1 or 2 sketches because they give you 3 questions, mostly probably. Well, most likely they'll give you 3 questions. So at least try to do 1 or 2 questions with colors because I do like it. And then play with color shapes and fonts. Like an NID, play with perspectives and elements. NIFT के अंदर they do like fonts, they do like your lettering, they like shapes, they like colors. The more vibrant, aesthetic, and beautiful your drawing looks, the better. Now, so this is just a recap of what pointers are covered for CAT. It's quick sketches for NID, faster work, focus on creativity. Colors are not very important, and play with perspective and elements. And for diff phrases, aesthetic sketches, methodical work, focus on your perfection. Colors are very important, and play with shapes and fonts and colors. Now I will go through my old sketches and talk to you about how I did them and what are the things I learned from them and what you can incorporate in your drawing as well. So this is, I think, I think this is my first ever test that I gave for PC walk test, and this is what I did. So you can see how bad it was because in my head I was thinking at light years away, and what I could do was only like car speed. So don't let your ideas get too ahead of it. And see, you can see how bad it is. I don't have good line quality. I don't have time management. It doesn't look good. There's no alignment. But there's some sort of idea. So you can see how bad it is. So basically, you can improve if you really want to. And मतलब, हाँ. And I think this is some perspective work from my earlier days. You can see how the perspective is a little bit skewed in the right one. The cars supposed to be like they look like they're going to crash into each other. So you can see how bad it is, and you can improve if you really want to
Basically,
and focus on
Vedanta
it.
started from scratch. He was not someone who had a hand earlier. So he thought about design when he was in 11th. And when he came to me, he started from scratch. So that's why he's showing you that one good thing about him was that he never missed the mock examination. He was very consistent with the mock exam.
Huh.
Yes, please continue.
Always, like sir said, that was a very good point. Always and always give your mock exams. Never miss them because they are very important. पहले I also think कि I didn't take them as seriously as I should have. कि हाँ तो ऐसे ही है हो जाएगा बाद में मैं कर लूँगा. Thought I had a thought process like I will do it later. मुझसे हो ही जाएगा. I can do it. I can do it. I mean, you can do it. Obviously, that's a great quality to have. Not be too nervous and have faith in yourself. But at the end of the day, that shouldn't come at the cost of your self improvement. Always be willing to improve at what you're doing and do your mock tests seriously and do them faithfully. Don't cheat. Don't take extra time. Don't do anything that you shouldn't be doing. Because at the end of the day, आपका जो the self-confidence and the self-discipline that you should have. That should be the first thing that you develop when you join DC because see, drawing to आप YouTube से भी सीख सकते हो. But the environment that DC fosters, it's all about how you have to make yourself disciplined and work properly and to learn things that other students don't learn normally. So if they're offering those things to you, you will utilize them and do them properly. So give your mock exams properly. Listen to sir's feedback because his feedback is always on point, very precise. He doesn't talk a lot of, he doesn't give you false hope. He gives you like perfect, on the point, precise feedback that can sometimes seem a little sharp, but it's all for your own good. So do your mock test properly. These are some posters that I had. You can see that the coloring work is not great. In this, I would like to talk about how sometimes you think that you don't have one skill, but it's just that you're using the wrong stationery. I had the worst pencil colors. I didn't realize at that point. They used to break all the time, and they then used to lay on the paper properly. उनका swatch भी अच्छा नहीं होता था. And then I started to switch my color pencils. I realized I could do it if I just switched it out. This is just a cautionary tale for you to test out your stationery before you do it. Then this is some. work that I would show you. This is, I think, from my later days. These are some, I think this was a question where uh, you have to show from perspective of a dog or a human. I don't remember properly, but it was about this New Year's Eve, and the dogs are running around and scampering. And you have to show that scene. So I've shown that one dog, he's broken the pot, he's put the entire house in a mess. He's running Age and the lamp is falling because he kicked the console. And one dog is sitting in the corner and he's peacefully, he's trying to rest and uh, he's trying to hide. So it shows the contrast between them. And so if you put this element of humor, I think that also adds a great touch to your work. This is one of my better drawings. This was a question, this was a series of work that sir had given us, where we were given uh, blank sheets, not blank sheets, but they are just sheets, and they had blank canvases, not canvases, but they had blank how do I say it? They had, so it was basically a store. It was just a window and cabinets and everything else you have to fill in yourself. So I do that, and then I thought if it's from the inside of a tank, then उसके ना fishes होंगे. But then I flipped the perspective where it's the fish people who are out shopping and they're running and they're running the world, whereas humans are stuck inside the tank and they are being treated as pets. So that was one good work that I had done. Then this one on the right is about how okay, it was a very basic question that you have to draw the workshop of an Indian artisan. So I wanted to show how from a very basic statement you completely flip it upside down and use it in your favor. See, as the more basic a statement is, the less it gives you, the more you can do with it. Don't always think if the more complex a question, the more complex your drawing. That's not always the case. You can do more complex drawing, more creative drawing with even the most simplest of prompts. I didn't have to add it in a Instagram post. I didn't have to do it, but it really helps your case because it shows the examiner that you're willing to think that far and you can think outside the box and present it in a new way. Also, one tip that I learned was if you want to do better work, but you just don't have the capacity or the stamina to do in the full box, just put it in an Instagram post or put it in a photo types format. So you don't have to cover that space niche and you can just draw in that little bubble and it doesn't look bad. It looks well thought of and presented. So that's one hack that I would recommend if you can't work that much. The next one I tried with the car, I tried to incorporate humor in it. That was about someone capturing a crime. So, and sir always told us in crime questions like this, never show a violent crime, murder, robbery, physical nuclear. Don't show that stuff because they want to see that you're still a child, you're still innocent, and you don't think about these things. So don't show violent crimes. So I thought that would be funny to. I was not sure about this thing, but I thought it would be funny to do it where the guy is peeing on the wall and and right in front of "Don't pee on the wall" poster, and like it's a crime and don't pee on the wall. And so the juxtaposition and then the humor, it really helped my case. I thought it was a little bit vulgar, but then I showed it to sir and said it was very good and you can do stuff like this totally, and so it gave me the confidence I can, my ideas are a bit right and I can do it. Uh, then these are box questions, don't have a lot to say about them, just that in the right one, sometimes your ideas go a little out, like too much, and it's hard to contain them in one like small section of the paper, and sometimes it doesn't go across properly, or the ideas not communicated properly. So sometimes you should just lower your vision a little. Don't think too much. Don't think too much beyond your skill level, because अगर आप बना ही नहीं पाओगे and the examiner doesn't understand what you're trying to go for, it's all worthless. So it's much better to stick to things that you know and learn and you can execute properly instead of going on a very creative stand. And then the right one is just basically to show that you don't have to split your boxes in four like square grids. You can play with the idea. You can make them triangular, circular, whatever you want to. So it's just an extra way to embellish your drawing. It's nothing more. Then this is the drawings I started to do when I started to use pen. And then I realized why I didn't I use pen later, because before that I used to draw everything, sketch the rough parts with pencil and then go over with the pen. And I used to take a lot of time and it was very time consuming. And I thought this is just very useless. And then I some one day just randomly got the confidence to try with the pen the first time. And I thought that it was like a new discovery that I could do
So
this
when have you
before
started
also.
using pen?
Yeah, sorry.
आपने पेन कब शुरू किया यूज करना?
So starting of 12th grade, so a year ago. Before that, I started mid 11th grade, so half the year I wasted. Not wasted, but I could have started earlier. But I should have started earlier, honestly, because pen just gives you cuts your time a lot shorter. You don't have to go over with pencil, and just pen you have to focus on that. Even if you make a mistake, you can cover it up. बाद में also, उसको मोटा मोटा करके you can do it. Just don't be nervous with using pen. You think that you'll make a lot of mistakes and will go wrong, but trust me, इतना कुछ गलत नहीं होता. It's nothing you can't cover up in time. So don't be nervous in using pen and do use it. This is a very versatile tool.
So
Uh,
in your examination, you used pen or pencil in the NIFT exam?
in NIFT, I used pen only. No, I used pencil for one question, and the other ones I used pen. In NID also, I used pen most of the time. I didn't use a lot of pencil because pencil, I think, unless you're doing shading or you're going for that look of a pencil shade look, it's not very useful. Pen se bhi aap same effect you kar sakte ho. And it also shows, I think, your confidence with in yourself, that you are confident enough to use with a pen and not be nervous ki kuch galat ho jaye, or you, well, it shows that you have surety in your skills basically. So I would recommend using a pen. Then these are those type of questions was used to give us like quotes or not quotes, but like phrases or idioms it used to give us, and we have to make a drawing on that. And I try to do a humorous spin on it. The first one was best of both worlds, and then the moment I heard it, I was like Hannah Montana, because it's the theme song में होता है, the best of both worlds. So I did that, and I thought that was a good idea. And in the next one, it was a bit confusing. It was when there is a will, there is a way. I realized that it's not very obvious, because the people who have seen Stranger Things will get it, but those who haven't will not. So so I tried to incorporate humor basically. I don't think it worked out pretty well in the second one, but you should experiment with your drawings. That these are basic book covers. You can try to do them. They're not very good, but I just incorporated them to show what you can and what you should do. So in book covers, it's very important that you just not only focus on the book cover, but on the environment. I remember she used to show us a work of someone, I forgot the name of, sorry, but it was a book cover and the person had fallen asleep next to it. And the stationery was all over the place and it was very messy. So book cover means it's good that you focus on other things as well and not just the book cover, because फिर flat पड़ जाता है and you don't have a lot to show for it, your drawing. This is also pen work. So these are products, and this second one in the car was show a car scene is stuck in family. So I showed the parents are arguing in front that they started late and they started late and they didn't get ready on time. And the back seat, the girl is sleeping with her headphones on, and the younger brother is playing her and trying to wake her up. So just humor and elements important hota hai story mein. So when there is a story in your drawing, it is always appreciated much more than when it's a flat basic drawing. Always incorporate a story or humor in it. Very important. Then this is again, your idea shouldn't get too far-fetched that you can't incorporate them. You wouldn't understand if you were looking at it right away. So basically, the first one was to make a new type of alarm, a more advanced type of alarm. So my thought was the alarm, it should noiseless alarm. So it shouldn't ring, and there should be some other feature. So my idea was the mattress would spring open and it would launch the person out of bed. It's not very obvious because I've not executed it properly, but the idea was good, so I've presented it. And the second one was you have to make a new product for Starbucks. So I made a new cup holder, which is very sturdy and stable, and it doesn't let your drink spill, and it's also collapsible. So my idea was I'll show like sometimes in headphone ads, what they do is they'll show the wavelength of the sound wave coming, and when it touches the headphone, it goes silent to show ki it's very much noise cancelling, and so the product is very nice. With this also I do the same thing, but I just added the car to show ki in a bumpy ride, even though there's a bumpy ride, the cup holder won't spill. It will make sure as if it will make it look like it's just a normal, good, smooth car ride. And these are some good questions that example and so faced me. Again, with the Instagram hack, very effective. If you don't want to draw a lot, just put it in the Instagram box. Aapka drawing area reduces by at least 20-25%. So very good. This is the second one is for coloring. To show coloring, you can also do it properly and properly. Then these are
Vedant, your main skill was storytelling, you feel, or you feel that your drawing was a lot mechanical, or you feel that you were more focused about जब आप वो क्वेश्चन सुनते थे तो आप सबसे पहले क्वेश्चन के सब्जेक्ट पे फोकस करते थे और उसके स्टोरी जो उसके अराउंड स्टोरी हो उस पे फोकस करते थे.
Definitely. In the starting, I used to give a lot of time and plan out a good idea. So even if my drawing isn't very good, at least my idea is good. So that should show through it. But then I realized that used to waste a lot of time in thinking of idea. And as you practice and practice more, आपके ideas organically आते हैं. A lot of kids worry that I'm not getting a good idea. I'm not getting a good idea. But the point is, if you start doing it now, you'll start to get ideas because you have all these elements in the back of your head in a they are cooking inside your head. So start as long as you start to practice, elements get registered in your head कि हाँ यहाँ पे ये होता है यहाँ पे ये होता है, and your drawing can become much more standardized. So आपको ज़्यादा सोचने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती, idea आपको ready-made मिलता है. And also the more you practice, the more questions you come across, the more variety of questions you've done. So you already have an idea prepared if you get the same kind of question. So the more questions you do, the more variety of questions you do, the more you practice, आपके ideas will start coming organically. So don't worry about focusing on ideas too much. Just start drawing. Drawing cut sometimes when you start to draw also ना कुछ shape से आपको idea आ जाता है कि आपने कुछ random shape बना दिया, and from that suddenly an idea erupts out. So don't worry a lot about idea. Focus on your drawing. हो जाता है idea and धीरे धीरे करके आ जाता है. These are some good works. The second one is a bad example. I'll tell you why later. The first one was a very basic question. You have to show the top view of a monument. This was, I think, from a mock test. And the second one, it was to show a bookstore in Old Delhi. So this is an example of how when you read the question wrong. So sorry, not Old Delhi, an antique bookstore. So I didn't read the Old Delhi part. I just had antique bookstore part, and I tried to make a very vintage, cutesy, Pinterest worthy type of thing, and on the book cover and stuff. And then I got scolded by both Gayatri ma'am and sir, who didn't read the question properly. It was about Delhi, Old Delhi, in Old Delhi. So they don't have that much space. It's very narrow, like for Kirchan Dogi bookstore. Yeah, KR's ho gaya. So it's very, very small. The bookstore is very narrow. Books are piled on top of each other in piles. They don't even have bookshelves. And it's an old Delhi, it's run down. It's not that perfect. It's not that aesthetic. So always read a question properly. It's very, very important. Because even though your drawing is very good, if you don't read the question properly and you draw the wrong thing, Sara aapka mehnat goes in waste and you get like barely any marks. You don't get marks for it. So always read the question properly.
वेदांत आप कौन सा मार्कर यूज करते थे?
Okay. So for pencils, I use Staedtler pencils, normal Staedtler pencils. And for marker, I used to use Tombow Fudenosuke markers. I'll show them to you at the end because I'll have to get them. But they're Tombow Fudenosuke markers. There's a hard tip and a soft tip. They come in pairs. If you go to KR's, that's very close to DC. KR, so you can ask them, they'll give it to you. They're very effective because they're brush pens. They're not like felt tip markers. So you can get a lot of pencil stroke variation, width variation. So you get a thin line also, you get a thin line also in the same pen. So I think they're very useful. And then of course I use Figma microns. I use microns.
Okay.
So that's pretty much it. I didn't use a lot of stationery because that's it. Then these are some questions. These are how we can flip the perspective. The first one was to show a zoo view. I flipped it again, and he's showing that the human is the person in the zoo, and the animals are all visiting, and they're looking at him and treating them poorly. And the second one was, I think this was also a complete the box question where I had
That
been
was
given.
the aquarium view of a
Yeah,
from the
aquarium
aquarium to
view.
living room.
So I added a cat scooper. Again, when you add a cat, so your drawing part or the reduces a lot because सारा drawing room तो cat नहीं cover करेगा. So you add a cat and then also adds a story element where the cat is trying to get the fish out of the box, out of the aquarium, and the two owners are trying to stop it. So yeah. Then these are I wanted to show again bad coloring, like this, like bad coloring skills that I had a very poor coloring skills. I used to get scolded from sir also, and then when later I had like got when had gotten better, sir please like told me about, he pointed it out basically. So basically it was that bad. My color skills were that bad. So it really shows how you can improve if you want to, and nothing is impossible. तो बच्चों को लगता है मुझसे ड्राइंग होगी नहीं, मुझे आती नहीं, आई एम नॉट टैलेंटेड इज व्हाट दे थिंक, आई एम नॉट born with the natural talent. Some kids are just born with it and that they have an advantage of. But even if you don't have a talent, practice and dedication can get what you want. Then these are some questions. Okay. Again, I tried to flip the narrative on that where I had to show. Okay, this was a very basic question. He showed the view of a South Indian food stall. So I put the stall in Kashmir, and then the police is also the army person is also eating it, and the Kashmiris are also liking it. So you can. I have not written Kashmir explicitly, but you can see the Pashmina shawls and the jumbo sort of written in the bottom. So put it in Kashmir, so that shows ki you put a message also into it. So you put a message in corporate get key food brings people together, world peace and stuff like that. They like it. So you can try that also. And the first one is just a basic drawing of a food dispenser, sorry, a toothpick dispenser. I spent a lot of time thinking about this question because I didn't understand the toothpick dispenser कैसे बनाएंगे. Then I stopped and I just made what was happening. And so it ended up ki it's a pawn shop and the toothpicks are in a pawn section and you just pull one from the bottom of the cone and it keeps coming down. It's very basic. It was very bad day for me. Then this is again storytelling aspect, and you can add humor to it. This was ways that you can reduce pollution. The first one is a very basic idea कि cloud seeding होती है. You can cloud seed now in like the Middle East where a lot of rainfall doesn't happen. They use cloud seeding. They use silver iodide or something like that, silver nitrate or something. And they use that to cloud seed, and so basically rainfall होता है and pollution कम हो जाता है. Second one, I try to be very funny. I try to be very funny. कि uh, they're taxing breathing bad air. So people, if they're getting taxed on breathing a bad air, obviously their taxes will skyrocket because pollution is so prevalent and so bad in, at least in Delhi, is very bad. So people will have to stop and try to go cleaner and go cleaner. And the last one, it's an Instagram meme of it's a very popular meme. Everyone must have seen it. That the Drake is that one. So it's saying no to pollution and saying yes to no pollution. Uh, and then this is to show how my coloring skills improved. One, I changed my color pencils. That was a big improvement. The color pencils, they were not letting me go beyond my skill level because they kept on breaking and they wouldn't lay flat on the paper. It was very hard to get a color out of them. I got put color pencils and then I started to develop in my skills as well. This was the first one, is the one that sort of talked about my coloring that has improved and pointed it out. So you can improve on your stuff whenever you want to. And don't worry a lot about skills because time doge ho jayega. It's not something to take tension about. Then this, I think this is more focused on NIFT. This was about a small town photo studio. So I tried to show ki it's a small town, so women are more restricted and they are given less freedom. If you can think of it, it's a very backwards way to think and a very narrow view of small towns, but it's what I thought of. And so they have come in the night of them broken in the photo studio and they're getting their pictures clicked with, and the woman in the parda has taken off her parda and the Muslim women in the hijab is taking her hijab. So they're breathing their air of freedom and they're cherishing the little moments of freedom. So that's what I want to show. Ki, you can add your messages in it. You can add your uh, ideas in it, and it really works well. And second one again is an idea of how we can reduce your drawing space. I think this was a birthday celebration or something, and I put it in a hospital. It's a newborn. I don't really remember what the question is. I'm sorry. But yeah, you can reduce your working space if you think creatively. I mean, photo album के अंदर डाल दिया उसको, it's in a picture, small picture. So yeah, and this is just before NIFT examination, I think. These are questions. You have to design new uniforms for G20. For G20 tours. So for sorry, tour guides who are working the G20 forum. So this one I got feedback was that there's not a lot of focus on the actual uniform itself, but there's a lot of space that is being utilized by other things that are not as important. So if you're getting asked to design a product, your product should always be front and center and very clear about what your product is. कि ये product है and this is the only product and the focus should be on the product. But in this drawing is on the products scattered focus a little bit so that you should really focus on. The second one, I think it was a very basic prompt of diversity or something. I don't remember, or I really don't know what the question was. But this is one where it's for NIFT, so more aesthetic drawing as I talked about earlier, and more colors and more vibrant. So just focus that for NIFT. These are also just before NIFT examination. I think the first one was to set design an invite for a fashion is show somewhere for some Indian designer. So I put it in a hologram thingy, and it's for Sachi, I think the title. Yeah, it's for Sachi, and it's in a hologram, and basically a new way of sending an invitation. The second one is things that 5 things that a journalist would carry everywhere to work. So I tried to show her that she's getting late for work, and then her stuff is flying everywhere, and she's just running, trying to get out of the house. And uske andar I put the products in. So if it's a very basic question, also you can add story. Always add story. It's always better. It makes your drawing go from 10 to 100. So always add a story ahead. Then this is also the first one is for I think to show a beach scene. So it's a fisherwoman arguing with a foreign tourist, and he's asking for directions, but she thinks he's asking for fish, and she's bargaining with him, and so I try to add humor. And in the second one, I think it's the front gate of an airport or some terminal of an airport, and I've shown at that one I think it was very
The arrival gate of the airport.
ha. So it was my feed was flooded with celebrities at the airport or I think this was just before uh, the NMAC thing. So celebrities everywhere and the Indian paparazzi are taking over the internet. So I took the idea of a celebrity leaving the airport and the paparazzi taking the picture. Then this is the last one. I think this is the one I made just before NIFT. I don't know what happened. I just tried to develop a new style. Sometimes happens. And you'll see also my style is developing as I'm getting better and I'm trying to experiment. So I think it's very important that you don't stagnate. You should showcase at least an NID. I think is very important. In NIFT, I think it's very important. Not very important, but I think it's a good tip that if you should do one sketch in a certain style and another sketch in another style. So it just shows your diversity. You take inspiration from diverse things. You're a very cultured person. You look in for inspiration alag alag jagah se. Your skills are also very developed, so you can draw in one style and another styles also. So I think it's very important to not stagnate and to try to develop your skills and trying to change drawing styles often. Because for me, what the case was that I used to get very bored with certain types of drawings. Yeah, hafta, do hafta, mahina bhar I've done in this style, and I used to get very bored. So if I started to draw in that style only, my ideas wouldn't come. I wouldn't do good drawings. So I had to keep experimenting, keep evolving to develop new styles. Otherwise, I would get very bored and disinterested and demotivated from practicing. So that is why I think you should keep developing your style. It's just a good way to present. I think this was about recycled plastic, what we can make from recycled plastic. I think this is a good way to present its more perspective, I think. And so that's it. I can take questions now.
Yes, Vedant. So, uh, what you will suggest? How many drawing ones should be doing every day? If they are in class 12th right now, exam is 7 months ahead. So, what do you think that before half yearlies and post half yearlies, what planning they should be doing?
Before half yearlies, I think at least 2 to 3 drawings daily you should be doing. 1.5 hour you should be doing, I think, for before half yearly. And and after also, I think your minimum should be at least one drawing a day. वो तो करनी ही करनी है. Even if you go somewhere, even if you have like very a lot of tuitions, because coming from a science kid who had tuitions till 9 o'clock every day, टाइम निकल जाता है if you have the dedication to do it. टाइम अगर आप टाइम निकालोगे टाइम निकल जाएगा. एटलीस्ट हाफ एन आवर तो करो ही करो. इवन इफ यू आर डिमोटिवेटेड एंड आपसे कुछ भी नहीं बन रहा, देन ड्रॉ रैंडम थिंग्स. यू डोंट हैव टू डू अ क्वेश्चन, बट डोंट स्टॉप ड्रॉइंग. ड्रॉ एवरी डे एंड just keep drawing. At least 2 to 3 drawings आपको करनी चाहिए every day.
So, what was your weakest point and how did you overcome that weakest point in the creative section?
My weakest point was that in the beginning, I used to focus on a lot of perfection. Keep my strokes have to be perfect. My idea has to be perfect. Everything has to be perfect. And that used to take a lot of time. Like I talked about earlier, I used to start from 9 in the morning to 4 in the evening. I was just at DC. And उस पूरे time में सिर्फ 3-4 drawing ही होती थी. So that's 9. That's 7 hours of just 4 drawings, and compared to 1.5 hours for 3 or 4 or 5 or even more drawings in NID. So don't focus too much on perfection, at least for NID. Don't focus a lot of perfection. Just keep doing it, because as you keep doing it, you will get better. So don't focus on a lot of perfection, because it does take away from a lot of time.
How did you overcome the fear of anxiety since you are a math science student also? Forget about your science student, anxiety is for everyone. So like I only have 10%
Uh,
student are from science, but the examination center, going to exam center, overcoming the fear, or you just keep on going and go and went with the flow.
So for me, it's a very good quality that I have. That is, I don't know where it comes from, but I don't get very nervous. I'm a little bit underconfident in my skills, but I don't get nervous. I think in some or other way, I will manage and it will go well. And so I don't get a lot of anxiety. I've been very blessed in that matter. So I don't have a lot of tips for it. But for sure, even I can get nervous sometimes, because in my UC paper, I don't know what happened. I was very prepared. I was very sure of my skills. I had done a lot of mock papers. Sub was very going well. I was scoring good marks and everywhere. But on that day, something happened. And before I was fine when I went to the gift paper. But when I sat in front of the screen, I don't know what happened, and I just froze. I couldn't even draw that day. So my UC paper went terribly. I barely passed. So sometimes you just get bad days and you have to get through them, and कुछ ना कुछ करके निकल ही जाता है. So I don't have a lot of feedback on it, but yes, on nervousness, उतना tension मत लिया करो,
How
because
did you overcome that nervousness? And NIFT was the last examination you must have given.
so
Started with
yeah, I started with
IIT, NID.
NID, IIT, UC, and then NIFT. So NIFT was a third entrance examination, and I had some private ones in the middle. So by NIFT, I would say a lot of a lot of importance on the factor is he had given so many entrance examination and mock tests by then. कि by NIFT, I was not scared of anything only. कि जो भी आएगा, I thought I was fully prepared. Whatever happens, I will do it. And on that day also, I was not very flustered, even though I had to go back in and out of this exam center 10 times. Because first they asked me to take the stationery out, then they asked me to bring it in, and asked me to remove my belt and my shoes, and then again and again. Even through that also, I was not very nervous, because I had been through a lot of examinations at that by that point, so I was not very nervous. So definitely, your nerves do get better the more you practice, the more you get examinations, and that again feeds back to how mock tests are very important. take them very seriously as if you're giving the right exam. If you're giving the exam only right then and there, because that helps strengthen your nerves and reduce your anxiety a little bit. Because now you are practiced, you are uh, feeling more secure in the fact that even if you don't do very well, you know that you won't do very worse because up till that point आपने सब कुछ कर रखा होता है, and plus your confidence increases a lot tenfold, I would say.
So just before the examination or when you did जब आपके पास ज्यादा टाइम नहीं होता था, तो मिनिमम कितने टाइम में आप स्केचेस करते थे टू बी इन टच विद स्केचिंग? ऐसा तो नहीं होता होगा कि हर रोज आपके पास 1.5 आवर निकलता
Mhm.
होगा?
Yeah. At least half an hour. Half an hour for one sketch. At least you should do that. Half
Okay.
an hour you can take out time even if you have exams beforehand. Half an hour is very doable, I think. सुबह सुबह उठ के भी कर सकते हो आप. The first thing you do in the morning, wake up and do it, get over with, and सो जाओ उसको कोई बात नहीं. But should draw every day, at least half an hour.
All right. So uh, current affairs. So how did you, like, you have explained very well about the general knowledge, but even we didn't know that this time in examination it will be more of historical GK or
Yeah,
current
yeah, yeah.
affairs. So how did you manage to balance between all these topics? पहले
This
किए, जून जुलाई में किए या फिर अगस्त से शुरू किए या सितंबर पे पीक ले आए, किस तरीके से जीके मैनेज किए?
I think GK comes for GK, so it's very important to understand that you can't cover everything. थोड़ा बहुत सब कुछ छूट जाता है because it's a very 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 vast subject. For GK, I would say quizzes करो, and it's more important that you have someone to sit on your head and make sure you're doing it because it's a very boring and taxing subject. तो आप नहीं करते हो, आपका मन नहीं लगता है. I had my sister who is 5 years younger than me. तो उसने उस टाइम पे मुझसे सारे बदले निकाल लिए. She used to sit with a slipper. And every time I used to give a wrong question, every 2 times I gave a wrong answer. She used to hit me with this slipper, and was tertiary. I started to do it more and practice more and get better, so I don't get hit by her because she was given all the freedom to hit me if I get a wrong answer. So have someone sit with you to take accountability, responsibility. It's a very vast subject. आपसे सब cover नहीं होगा. So don't go with the expectation कि आपसे सब हो जाएगा. But at least on the surface, you should know about every other topic. Divide your GK because at this point it would look like something impossible कि आप उसे tackle भी नहीं कर सकते. But उसको कर सकते हो. छोटे छोटे सेक्शन में divide करो. उस question के quiz बनाओ. For current affairs also, it looks like a lot of things. But सब आप नहीं भी कर पाओगे, सब आपको आंसर्स नहीं भी आएंगे. बट उसको डिवाइड करो, मंथ से डिवाइड करो, वीक से डिवाइड करो, क्विज बनाओ. शॉर्ट, इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, शॉर्ट पॉइंटर्स में लिखो. लॉन्ग लॉन्ग करके लिखोगे कभी याद नहीं होगा, कभी भी याद नहीं होगा. 1-2 वर्ड्स का ही रखो. आज ये हुआ, इस महीने में ये इंपॉर्टेंट हुआ. If you think it's too much, you can make a top 10 of every month also. In this month, these are top 10 things that happened. Top 10 things that happened this month, and focus more on the months preceding the event. So, sorry, the exam. So January, December में का ज़्यादा करो, November का ज़्यादा करो, and पहले का कम करो because they tend to ask more current affairs from the months preceding, very before the exam.
Last and final question, that why communication design? And because you were also, I think, somewhere out interested in product design also, you must have figured it out all the pieces. So what came in mind before going for communication?
Uh, I was also very confused for the past 2 years. I knew I wanted to design, but I didn't know what field specifically. I knew I didn't want to go into a lot of fashion or aesthetic work because that was not my forte and I was also not interested. So I knew somewhere what I didn't want to do, but there still leaves a lot of options. So basically, the more I started to work and research, तो I started to understand कि हर एक फील्ड में कैसा कैसा काम होता है, what sort of people you interact with, what sort of work you need to do, and what all it requires. So the requirements for a product designer will not be the same as a communication designer. Because in communication, you have to focus on graphics, your effective communication, how you talk to people, how you spread ideas, how effectively you spread your ideas. Key ideas to spread हो जाता है, but how effectively, in the shortest amount of time, how well can you explain yourself? And in products, it's very methodical. You have to research, you have to analyze, you have to think outside the box also from sometimes. So ये list बना के I started to go like I started to eliminate options कि अच्छा fashion नहीं करना है, product नहीं करना है, वो नहीं करना है. So it ended up with communications is the best fit for me, I think personally. So I think with the
It is
process of
very early to
elimination,
ask. Of course, it is very early to ask, but what
Mhm.
do you see yourself doing after 10 years, then after doing communication? So is there any plan like you want to see yourself as a filmmaker or as a graphic designer or as a AI developer? What do you want to see yourself?
uh, it's a good question, but I am a person who doesn't think a lot about the future. I'm a very go with the flow person. But I think somewhere along the line, I think I want to be in charge of something, which be whatever field of communication I'm doing, whether if you said it's film work or graphics or something else. I think I want to be in charge of something. I want to have the leadership role, take the
More of
decision,
graphic
take the
oriented or management oriented?
acha, graphic oriented definitely.
Graphic oriented. So you want to be in the core of communication and
Huh,
not the
so
management
I
side.
want to make all the creative decisions, do everything. See, I'm very interested in everything. So I don't want to limit myself in just communication. Maybe I'll do a master's in something else or my postgrad in something else. I have no idea. So it's very open. So I don't really have a solid plan for the future. But somewhere I want to be creative. मुझे बस काम करना है. I want to do good work basically. That's all that I want to do. Good work that is recognized and I can be proud of it. That's all.
Absolutely. How student can use phone in actually a creative way, because you always were not so disconnected with phone. Phone था आपके life में, but you have utilized it in a very good way. So what all things they should see? What all channels, if you know, if you have followed on Pinterest? So any suggestion for the students?
Pinterest one very good tool for inspiration, for ideas, for developing new styles. As I said, कि बहुत diverse काम होता है वहाँ पे. Multiple people are working in animation and graphics and design. उसको देखो, research करो, ढूंढो, मिल जाएगा सब करने के लिए. For Instagram, there's a lot of channels that are not channels, sorry, there's a lot of accounts that I like, a lot of animators that do very good work, illustrators that do very good work. Uh, I can give you a list. I can send Sarah a list and you can forward that if you want to.
So that मतलब
Uh,
अगर हम छोड़ नहीं सकते, जब करना ही है तो अच्छी चीज को देखो.
हाँ. And also, it's important that phone can use creatively also, but it's a very big distraction also. So before all my exams, I think I was off Instagram and WhatsApp for a very long time. For I think 3 to 4 months, I was off. So you need to know that acha, your phone is a very powerful tool, very creative tool, but you should know कि कहाँ limit आती भी है कि you will get distracted, so उसे बंद कर देना चाहिए. So मतलब use your phone effectively and just don't go कि अच्छा हाँ मैं creatively काम करो because creative से distraction भी आता है. So use it before, पहले पहले करो कि idea generate करो, वो सब ढूंढ लो, अच्छा काम ढूंढ लो, and then उसके बाद हो गया, take photos to observe for references and stuff, and जब वो हो जाए तो उसे बंद कर दो. इसे उसका यूज नहीं है आपको, just stop it, close it because it's a very
So
big distraction.
वेदांत, when you used to like जब आप used to हो चुके थे पेन से, तो आप पेन और पेंसिल को किस तरीके से मिक्सअप करते थे? हाउ मेनी पेन वर्क एंड हाउ मेनी पेंसिल वर्क्स?
Sometimes for texture I would do mixed media जिसमें पेन भी है, कलर पेंसिल भी है, and but that was more of a NIFT work because NID में it's a faster sort of progression, so I didn't use a lot of multimedia there. या तो pencil या pen, not mixing of them a lot in NID, but definitely in pen or pencil उसके अंदर I used to do my outlining with my pen. मैंने rough कर लिया pen से, and sometimes I would go and sketch and put in the shading off with pencil because I did get lot I did get good at shading with pencil. So wherever I could, I used to mix both of them. उसको mix करके भी you can do a lot of work.
No, I just want to understand. It's like NID एग्जामिनेशन दिसंबर में था, निफ्ट एग्जाम फरवरी में था. तो NID एग्जाम के पहले तो क्विक स्केचेस आप लोग सब सीख रहे थे, तो आप उस समय पेन का ज्यादा यूज कर रहे थे या पेंसिल का? और जब निफ्ट के पहले आपने अपने स्ट्रैटेजी में कुछ चेंजेस लाए कि आप NID की स्ट्रैटेजी को ही कंटिन्यू किए टिल द निफ्ट
No,
एग्जाम?
definitely NID strategy is very different from NIFT strategy. everyone keeps clubbing them together कि NIFT NID entrance examination same होता है. But what NIFT wants from you and what NID wants from you in terms of your CAT section is very different. NIFT wants you to be aesthetic, to be a perfectionist, to have colorful stuff, to have beautiful stuff. NID wants to see how not understanding, how observant you are, how creative you are, how well you understand the world, and how. So they want you to see from the lens of a designer, I would say, if I'm if I'm if I'm not wrong. And NIFT would want you to see more from the view of an aesthetician. He's Sundar Kam. The creativity is there. Obviously, you have to be creative in both fields, but NID is more towards creative and NIFT is more towards perfection. So the things used for NID की quick sketches और proportions पे बहुत ज़्यादा focus करना है and views and perspective पे focus करना है. NIFT के लिए is different. It's a very longer. You need a lot more stamina for NIFT. NID is 1.5 hours. ठीक है, and NIFT is your 3 hours just for drawing. ठीक है, so more stamina, more methodical काम, slower भी काम कर सकते हो आप, slower ही काम करना चाहिए actually आपको. Plan it out, make grades if you should, if you can have time for it. So very methodical, very easy, not very easy, very slow, planned out, perfect, to the point.
Your rank is 48. Rank 1 has got 78 marks. Your marks was 71. By 7 marks, you missed rank 1. What mistake you feel? कोई mistake नहीं, you are still a topper. But what do you think कि आप क्या ऐसा कर सकते थे जो आपने नहीं किया कि आप बस you just missed it by 7 marks. You know that you missed a top rank by 7 marks. कोई
Uh,
mistake. We always talk about good things, but I really want you to tell that क्या एक ऐसा चीज और आप बेटर करना करते जो आप सबको बताओगे कि ये गलती नहीं करना.
the thing that I'm talking about, stamina, is very important because by the time I got to the last questions, I was a little bit tired because हम लोग सुबह से वहाँ पे थे already. So you have to remember कि it's not just the 3 hours you have, और उससे पहले भी आपके पास 2 घंटे का break होता है, and इससे पहले आपके पास 2 घंटे का cat hota. So you're there for the whole day and you're sitting for most of it and you get tired by the end, by the time you get to cat section. So stamina important hota. So I would recommend stamina karo because by the time I got to the last question, it's not very tired, but I was out of my zone basically. The more I could have been more focused, more vigilant because I thought my last question wasn't up to the mark. It was a very basic question, very जो था ज़्यादा idea भी नहीं सोचा मैंने. It was not very creative.
So
And
first
the
paper is the
work,
GAT paper and second paper is the CAT paper. So
yeah.
by the time you are giving the CAT paper for all the students, it is
You're
the
already
fifth
there
hour,
for
the fifth
four,
hour of
five
your exam.
hours.
Fifth hour
You're already,
exam.
yeah, you're already there for 5 hours. Then you start your CAT exam. So be prepared. It's a very long day. So you have to have stamina, eat food, eat healthy food. Okay. And keep all your documents ready because this time what happened was they asked for 2 copies of everything and not a lot of people had 2 copies. But my dad is very vigilant. So I always kept 3, 4 copies with me every exam I went to. So we didn't have to go for we didn't have to run everywhere time to find a printer or a print or a cyber cafe to get a printout and get it stamped and checked and again and again. So उसका भी ध्यान रखना and have stamina because it's a very long day and I was tired by the end of it. So uski wajah se I think I could have missed my work wasn't as good as it could have been. Uh, so
I also say that when we take mock examination, try to give it in one stretch. Do not give the GAT today and CAT tomorrow. But definitely अभी तो मैं आप लोगों को सबको बोलता हूँ बस एग्जाम तो एग्जाम देना बहुत जरूरी है. आइडियाज जनरेट होते रहेंगे तो एंड में आ ही जाएंगे आइडियाज आपके पास. But anyways, Vedant, you worked really hard with along with science, along with all your coaching and tuitions, you still managed to come a lot of time while like couple of months before the examination, and it was quite visible from you कि अब rank लाने वाले हो. So and you did it. So once again, congratulations for such a brief session. इतने देर
thank you,
बोलते
sir.
स्टैमिना तो है ही आप में, वो दिख रहा है. So स्टैमिना की कोई कमी नहीं थी. So once again, congratulations and
Thank you, sir.
have a really good journey in the college. So thank you so much, guys, to be here. I hope that he must have inspired you a lot, and you will definitely work towards the perfection. Thank you and good night, Vedant and
Thank you
everyone.
so much.
Bye.